All right, Tesla has received updated guidance from the IRS and has since updated their website to reflect these changes that impact you as a buyer for the EV tax credit. So I made a video recently. A lot of you are viewing that about buying or leasing, financing or leasing. However, with these updated guidelines, that could impact your buying decision as a lot of things are at play, mostly good. But some of it may not be so good, at least for those of you that income qualify for the tax credit. And we'll get into what qualifies and you want a Model 3, because effectively the headline is the tax credit is now transitioning to a point of sale credit. And the source of where you source the batteries for the vehicle have to be made in the United States. And the Model 3 rear-wheel drive and the long range will no longer qualify for the tax credit starting January 1, 2024. And that's a big deal, right? That is $7,500 on average. While that is tax credit, some of you may have a lower tax burden, some of you may not qualify, but for the ones that do, you will not be able to get that when you file your taxes in 2025, at least with the current models, with the cells sourced from China. And that applies to the Model 3 rear-wheel drive and the Model 3 long range. The performance cells are still in the US, so that will still qualify. But effectively, what that does is, starting in January, these prices, and I'm on the Model Y price page, the Model Y will be cheaper than the Model 3. The rear-wheel drive Model Y will go down to $36,500 at the current prices, and you'll be able to have the dealer get the tax credit, and you get to just pay for that at the point of sale. Then when you pay for your taxes next year, assuming you income qualify, everything will be fine. But if you don't, like let's say you predict you'll make more than a single person or married, is 300,000 limit. That's 225,000 as head of household and 150,000 as single. If you make more than that, you actually will have to pay that credit back. So if you're predicting your income, be fairly certain that you're going to still stay under the existing thresholds. Otherwise, you will have to pay that back in 2025. But essentially, the Model Y and the Model Y rear-wheel drive and long range will both be less expensive than the rear-wheel drive, which you can see they have updated their site. 7,500 tax credit will reduce to half. However, if you're actually on that, they haven't updated all their pages. If you go to the new Model 3 order page, they have since updated their terms to the 7,500 tax credit will end for the Model 3 rear-wheel drive and Model 3 long range on December 31st. So this is going to do a couple of things, right? Is the Model 3 is going to become much more expensive for the main two most popular models, which is the rear-wheel drive and the long range. The performance will still be eligible, and the performance will be less expensive than the long range. So if you're getting a Model 3, your main option is essentially you're going to be able to get a performance with the $7,500 tax credit built into that price, and it'll be barely more expensive than the rear-wheel drive and cheaper than the long range. So it's likely, I anticipate Tesla to either lower prices, it won't be by $7,500 as they won't have enough margin, but they may pull off some of their models from the site over time, probably anticipation because they're refreshing this car anyways. And so when they are refreshing these vehicles, they have to update their assembly lines, the tooling to make sure that these cars can be produced at scale. And that means they have to stop producing them for some time while they switch that out. And the demand for these cars will plummet a lot until they adjust pricing, because you're going to be losing this credit as long as the cells are continued to be sourced from China on the two models. It doesn't mean that the long range is an LFP battery pack, because that's been the normal understanding is, oh, if the cells are from China, it's probably LFP, and I can get those benefits of charging to 100%. These cells are made from LG for the long range, but they are the 2170 form factor, not the LFP style. The Model 3 performance are the ones that are still the nickel base and made here in the United States. So that being said, something to think about as well is when you are looking for a model and you're trying to get the Model 3 by the end of the year, you have to take delivery by the 31st. And when you go down here, as you can see, they don't encourage you to order, they're encouraging you to explore inventory. So if you are still doing this, they are still discounting heavily these models. However, something to keep in mind is if you are buying an existing inventory vehicle that is discounted, when I checked last week, and we'll check again right now, is that leasing was, at least for a period of time, and we'll check right now, was removed as an option. So if we scroll all the way down here and we continue to payment, you'll see that the lease is now is an option again. So this is interesting. So this has been, it was available when I did my last video, and then for a week it was not available. And now you can see that leasing is an option again. We can check that to see if this applies to the rear wheel drive vehicle as well. And potentially it's the least expensive one. So we have to check these. This is the least, this is the cheapest one I've seen. This will bring the Model 3 down to under $30,000, about 29. And if we are buying this vehicle, let's see if that is actually available for lease. And it is. So they took that down for a period of time and now it's back. So this is just a really interesting, and you can see this lease price is much less than what they advertise online. Your down payment is less. So generally that's good news, is leasing is still an option, even with the existing inventory discounts. This will be your last opportunity really to get this car at that price point. I also expect the used market to go up. So for those of you that have had Model 3s where you've seen the used market plummet because of the tax credit and the influx of vehicles, is the Model 3 will likely for a period of time be worth more. And you'll see that more in value, since you cannot, this vehicle effectively, is worth $7,500 more. That's going to be a huge benefit for the used market, and you may want to apply that if you're able to sell your vehicle towards a Model Y, which will effectively be less expensive. The other benefit with this is, with this new change with the tax law, is that those that were making about $70,000 a year, there's a lot of assumptions built into this, but the way the tax credit works was you have to owe the federal government at least $7,500 at the end of the day. Once you take out all your deductions, you file your taxes, are you paying them at least $7,500 so that they can give you a tax credit and you can get that back? If you only owe them, and let's say your annual income is $60,000 and you're only paying them $5,900 in federal taxes, you're only going to get $5,900 back. And so for anyone who is basically making under 70,000, or I think if we do $68,000, you have to have owed at least that much, the way things work today. But come January, at the point of sale, everyone is going to be able to let the dealer claim the tax credit. And so if your income is 50,000, 40,000, 30,000, you're going to be getting a 7,500 discount right at the point of sale and get the full discount. And so this is a huge win for those with incomes below that didn't qualify to get the full credit because you just didn't owe that much in taxes. You're going to get the full EV credit on the vehicle right up front, and you don't have to wait a year, and change to actually get your money back for those buying in Q1 or Q2 of next year. So these are some really big benefits. This is going to encourage a lot of sales for those vehicles that qualify. That's why you may not see, not every EV qualifies for this, because a lot of them source their parts and batteries from around the world, and there are restrictions on where they can come from to qualify, which is great. It keeps a lot of business and jobs and manufacturing here in the United States, which is always great, since the taxpayer is essentially subsidizing this for everyone. So that's the main headline, is the Model 3 tax credit is ending. So you have 2 weeks to kind of get that if you wanted a 3, and then there'll be some unknown period of time where pricing will be adjusted. We'll see a refresh version next year, and it's potentially that just the performance will qualify for the tax credit in 2024. But this is great news for those who want the Model Y, and then also in general, if you get a vehicle that qualifies, getting it at the point of sale is really, really great. So that's the update. I hope this helps with your buying decision if you are looking to do this anytime soon. But for most, now you might want to wait until January, because this decision is going to affect pricing in the used market as well as demand for Tesla. That's what I would do, by the way, is wait. And our plan is to have the used market react, sell my wife's Model 3, and maybe use that money towards a Model Y or something else when it makes sense. All right, enjoy. Have a good week.